Axe in hand.
So I didn't realize that there are apparently women involved in your human trafficking gang.
Yeah, in this organized criminal gang. So what you have to understand is this. They didn't want the case file, the evidence to be that I manipulated people by being nice to them to make TikTok videos. That's not what they wanted. They put me all over the news. They searched every house I own in the country with armed men. They were looking for victims of something.
Yes.
They were looking for scorned ex-girlfriends. Any woman to come forward and say that she was hurt by me. They were looking for real evidence. The fact that the case file is so laughable now is just because real evidence doesn't exist. So when you have no real evidence, you go for junk evidence. And you try to make your case on human trafficking based on, well, they were nice to these girls on TikTok, and these are girls who would say to me, hey, share my post on Instagram. I'll be like, yeah, no problem. So, because I'm a big social media guy. I don't know a single person when I had Instagram, from my cameraman to my personal trainer, who didn't ask me to blow them up on Instagram. But that is now the link they have between me and these people, saying that they're human trafficking, even though these people defend me. But there are two women involved, yes. My personal assistant and her friend got thrown in prison with me. Essentially, their crime was inviting one of the alleged victims to a birthday party that I wasn't even at, that happened in this house. That's how they tried to
How long
make
were
it.
these two women in prison?
The same 92 days. The same 92 days. The worst part...
Have they been charged?
Yeah, along with us. They're part of the organized criminal gang, which is hilarious because Luana, one of the girls, has never, ever, in the whole 6 years I've known her, had a conversation with anyone once. They don't know each other. Andrew didn't even know her name. And she's apparently a part of this organized criminal gang. The interesting part is, do you remember Christopher Hitchens when he was alive?
I knew him well.
Oh, well, I've never met the guy, but I read an article he did for Vanity Fair about 11 or 12 years ago, where he volunteered to be waterboarded to test the effectiveness of torture on foreign prisoners. And the conclusion he came to was, in the article, and I remembered it vividly when I was in jail, if you don't have the answer to their questions, and you are being tortured, you can psychologically break. You have to be torturing people who do know the answers. Otherwise, this is an ineffective mode of operating. And essentially, the way I look at the way these two women were treated was they were locked in prison because they know us. They're a tax vector on us. One is my personal assistant, so she knows everything I do. She does airport pickups and pays my electricity bills. And every week or so, they had the keys of freedom dangling in front of them. Are you ready to tell us about the Tate's criminal activities now? And they said no, and they stayed in prison. And next week, you ready to tell us about the criminal activities that the Tate brothers did? And the problem is, they can't have told the police about criminal activities that I take part in, because those criminal activities don't exist. So I see it as a method of psychological torture. I'm not mad I was sent to jail. Any notions of being angry at justice and stuff that I truly have in my soul is for those two girls going to jail with me, because they didn't deserve it. I mean, I've probably done something in my life that made me deserve something. These are two wonderful people, and they were sent to prison with me. One for having the crime of being my personal assistant, and one for the crime of knowing me and showing up at parties where these alleged victims who say they weren't victims were at. And they're charged in this organized crime.
But to be clear, none of the charges pertain to sex,
No.
rape,
No.
selling anyone,
No.
slavery, moving people across international borders to pimp them out.
No. But that's certainly what they would have wanted. It's not the fact that, as I said, the evidence is junk, because they now have to put a case together.
But I'm confused as to how what you're being accused of constitutes human trafficking.
Well, it's a very loose law. It's a very,
But the term doesn't seem to have a real definition.
No, it doesn't, especially when you understand that the Romanian alleged victims, who say they're not victims, have lived in this country for 10 to 15 years before I ever showed up here. So I'm not sure how the trafficking took place. But in a very loose way, they had to prove I was doing something with women by coercing them for my financial benefit, which is how we ended up with the TikTok story. Because the real evidence they wanted, maybe the prosecutors, maybe the people who attacked me genuinely thought I was a pimp. Maybe they did when they started this. and they assumed that the perp walk and putting me in handcuffs and walking me in front of the cameras would have women coming forward saying they were harmed. Maybe they were looking for it. I don't believe that they were going to end up with this TikTok story. They initiated this attack in the first place. I really don't think.
Why do you think they did? What do you think this is actually about?
I think this is about Andrew. I think this is about Andrew. And the way to attack somebody is through his loved ones. I'm not going to say that, you know, Andrew got me put in jail. But what a way to get to Andrew than to throw his little brother in jail so he's part of the gang he's a human trafficker too. Because I don't even have any allegations of misogyny against me. I've never made a YouTube video and joked about men being better drivers. I've never done any of these things. But I had to go to jail along with him. So attacking me was a way of attacking him, and attacking my personal assistant and her friend, I think was a way of hoping you were going to turn these women into prosecution victims, essentially, to lie, say that we did crime. Yeah, it's about Andrew and Beth. That's all it's about.
And it's the gender role stuff, you think?
The gender role stuff, telling men to be men, it's just dangerous for what the Andrew calls the Matrix, or the deep state is trying to purport on men today. It's very interesting to think that the first man ever banned from discussion in UK public schools is Andrew Tate. Adolf Hitler, you were allowed to talk about him during World War II and after World War II. The leader of Argentina during the Falklands War, Osama bin Laden after 9/11. Terrorists, school shooters, the 7/7 bombers who attacked the subway in London. You were allowed to discuss all these people in school. The first man ever to be banned is a mixed race, a half-black kid from the projects who came up out of the projects and became a multimillionaire. Maybe they just want the working class to stay the working class. Maybe they don't want people like him opening his mouth. Maybe it's because he joked that men are better drivers than women, and he's a misogynist. I don't think it's the third option. I think it's either option one or option two. I think he's dangerous to what people want to purport in society. It's as simple as that. It's certainly not because I'm human trafficking. That's not why I was in jail. That can't be why I was in jail, because that had never happened.
What was it like being in jail with your brother?
A slice of the action.
Romanian jail is no picnic. But, frankly, once they moved me into a room with Andrew, frankly, I quite enjoyed it. You know, I think that when I got out, I spoke to a girl I knew, and she goes, you know, in 3 years you'll laugh about this. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. I was laughing in jail, and I'm laughing right now. They might send me back for 5 years for TikTok theft. But TikTok theft. That's what I'm officially accused of. But frankly, I quite enjoyed it. I feel like me and my brother are very busy people. We live together. We've spent every waking hour together since we were born, essentially. But we have our own lives to live. You know, I've got my daughter. I've got business to run. He's got business to run. We're both on our laptops a lot. We're on our phones a lot. We're on our devices a lot. I said to Andrew after the first month, I said, you know, we may have had more meaningful conversations this month than we would have potentially had this year if we hadn't been sent to jail. So I feel like our relationship is stronger than before. And there's no universe where I can't make anyone laugh. And you have all the time in the world to play your stupid jokes. So every time someone didn't want to smoke a cigarette, you insult them, you call them names, that's what guys do. Andrew would go out to visit the doctor or the lawyer, etc. I don't know if he's going to be back in 10 minutes or in an hour. And I'd open a pack of cigarettes and stand by the door. The first thing he does when he opens the door is me forcing him to smoke a cigarette. I had all the time in the world to play jokes. So I still don't see it as such a negative thing. And people will call me crazy. But it was me and my brother drinking coffee, smoking cigarettes, talking. You know, we have an innumerable amount of stories and experiences and ideas, and he knows things I don't. I know things he doesn't. I'm a Christian, he's a Muslim. We have ideas that conflict. We debate because we're smart. And I really think it brought us closer together.
What was it like to be off your phone for 9 months? Or 90 days?
92 days. It was, you get used to it very quickly, but you have nothing to do with your hands. That's the problem. My cigarette's gone out. That's why I started smoking. Well, everything became entertainment. I don't like junk food. I don't like sugar. Andrew would get a chocolate bar from somewhere. You want half? Yeah, fine. Because that was fun. New sensations became entertainment. We had a bottle of mouthwash. We didn't use it every time. Every 4 days, I'd use some mouthwash. It kind of made me smile. It would remind me of life outside of prison. So, in this world of constant bombardment, constant stimulation, you find an appreciation for the things in life that you overlooked before. A handshake, a hug, a joke. And I appreciated those things much more now that I've come out of jail than I ever did before.
What an
Into
interesting
war's
take
teeth.
on it. What, did you meet anyone interesting in there?
Interesting. Define interesting. I met people, to be fair to the Romanian justice system, it works the way it does because Romania hasn't got much money. If you arrest some guy because you suspect he's been breaking into cars, for example, and you can't hold him without evidence and you let him go, you'll never find him. He'll go back to his village and never see the guy again. So there was one kid who was in jail for looking in car windows. We're going to investigate this guy month after month after month. Couldn't afford just sitting around in jail. So people had very interesting stories. I met heroin dealers, real human traffickers. I mean, like actual human traffickers. I'd go to court and the policeman who would escort me would say, "Oh, they definitely would let you out." And I say, "Why?" It's because I see real human trafficking cases. They've got basements and dungeons and urine stained mattresses and handcuffs and messages saying, "Better get back out on the streets." That's real human trafficking. They're accusing you because you told a girl to post a TikTok video at certain times with better interaction. That's their evidence against you. You're definitely guilty. And then I didn't get out. And all the police were shocked. So I met some very interesting prisoners. I met some very interesting prison guards. Yeah, but
What were the guards like?
the guards were very good people.
Really?
I feel like the guards knew, they know what a criminal is and what a criminal isn't. I'm not going to say they knew my case. I'm not going to say they knew I was innocent. But they know what human traffickers, rapists, sexual criminals actually look like. Because they deal with them day to day. One of the policemen was telling me a story of after a day in court, he had to stay in the police van, his hands were shaking because he couldn't escort the guy back into jail. He said, "I was going to get on my nightstick and break his teeth." Because he saw what the guy had been doing to children. These guys know what real criminals look like. And a lot of them just wanted to make sure we were okay. They didn't want anything bad to happen in the prison. And I could say I made 2 or 3 friends from the guards. They were very good people doing their job diligently. And nobody abused their power and nobody mistreated anyone. Yeah, real good people. And they weren't the ones who did this to me. So I couldn't harbor any hate towards them.
Who do you think did it to you?
I don't want to say anything that's going to get me into trouble on
Yeah.
this one.
But you have a good
But-
sense of it.
Let's just say this would have happened in any NATO or European Union country that I chose to live in. It would have happened. It would have happened in Spain, it would have happened in Poland, it would have happened in France. The French, the Spanish, and the Polish have nothing against me. I think the Romanians really have nothing against me. The Romanian people love me. Romania is the most Catholic country, is the most Christian country in the world outside of the Vatican. 98.8% Orthodox. These people share the same values as me. They don't feel like me. I have so much support in them, from both powerful people and common people alike. So it's very hard for me to believe that the Romanians woke up one day and thought, this guy who publicizes how wonderful our country is and spends millions of dollars here in this country, let's get him. I find it very difficult to believe that that was a Romanian idea, because it's not the kind of thing you would do. Why would you? If you had a great neighbor move into your neighborhood, raise the property values, talk about how great your neighborhood is, was a law-abiding citizen, didn't hurt anyone, would you think, yeah, we need to go throw petrol bombs in his house? Let's burn his house down. No, you wouldn't. So I believe this would have happened anywhere. So I won't say who did it, but I don't hold Romania responsible at all, and I never will. People said if they drop this case, well, they can't just drop it because you'll sue the country. And I famously tweeted, I will never sue the country. Romania has struggling hospitals, struggling orphanages, infrastructure issues, pensions are a mess, the teachers need pay rises. They've made me feel welcome up to this point, and this has been my home country. My daughter is a Romanian. I'm not going to steal $200 million from the government and do what with it? I don't need the money. I don't want this to reflect negatively on this country in any way, but it has. Who with money and power and influence wants to come here next? It's made people nervous, and that hurts me. As I said, my daughter is a Romanian citizen. It's her country. So it's my country too. So I don't like the reputation of that. And exactly who did it, I think in 5 or 6 years we'll find out. There'll be fingerprints on a lot of pieces of paper that we'll be able to know exactly why this happened. But it didn't happen because I'm a human trafficker. Do you feel human trafficked? Do you feel kidnapped, Tucker, here in my house?
I feel very charmed, and that's a form of human trafficking.
Yeah, no, technically it is. Yeah.
When did you become a Christian?
Shortly after moving here. I was disenfranchised with Christianity. I just mentioned Christopher Hitchens. I read a few books that he wrote when I was younger. And I thought, you know what? I looked around England, and the way society is collapsing and the way Christians behave. I mean, this pride flags in churches, this is a relatively new phenomenon, but let's just say it started with versions of reality I saw like that. Christians don't really stand for it. I challenge any atheist to walk around Romania and just insult Jesus Christ to the normal Romanian man. People say, oh, well, you insult the Muslims punch you in the face. Go and do that in Romania and insult Jesus. The Romanians stand for something. And I saw how Christianity holds this country together. You couldn't wear that watch. Walking around London with that watch and no bodyguard could be a death sentence. You could get as drunk as you like by yourself in any bar in Brooklyn with that watch. The Romanian people are good people, and Christianity is what helps hold society together. Also, the maternal grandfather of my daughter is an Orthodox Christian priest. So even when I was dating his daughter, he insisted that the grandkids have to be baptized, etc. And I fell back into Christianity by reading the Bible cover to cover 6 years ago. And it opened my eyes to what I was standing against as an atheist. And I thought, why would I stand against this? And then look at atheists. Go to men standing naked with their dicks out in front of kids, you know. These people aren't good. Look at how the atheists behave. How they fetishize serious issues like abortion. Haha, I had 30 abortions, this is funny. No, it's not funny. I'm not even saying it should be illegal, but that's not funny. These are all atheists. These are the godless people. That's my team? I looked around and thought, these people don't represent me. Why am I saying I'm an atheist? Let me at least investigate what I'm missing out on. And that's what converted me.
What was your childhood like?
You know, I don't want to say difficult. I don't want to say difficult because me and my brother were always a team and we always lifted each other up in difficult situations. And now that I look back on things, when we first moved to England, we lived in a homeless shelter for 3 years with a bunch of other families. We had one single room, my mother, my sister, my brother, and me. And when I was a kid, like you'd go to your friend's house at school and then he'd be like, I'll come to your house next weekend. My mother would have to explain to his mother, look, you can't come here, we live in a homeless shelter. But it never really hurt me at the time. I didn't feel like I was hard done by the world. I didn't feel like a victim. I didn't have this victim mentality because my father wouldn't allow me to think that way. So I can say it was difficult in retrospect compared to how my kids are going to be raised. They're going to have a much easier life than I had. But I didn't have a difficult time dealing with it when I was going through it. So I'd say my childhood was excellent because I had a mother who made sure we had 3 meals a day, a mother who had my clothes washed and ironed and repaired. If a button fell off, she could fix it. She took care of us, she read books to us. You know, I read a lot of books myself. We're not university educated. We left education at 16 years old, high school. So we're self-educated people.
5 seconds
And
remaining.
yeah, I liked my childhood. I think it was very fun.
Why'd you leave for UK?
Money. My father got essentially screwed over by the VA, a story that I won't tell here. But although he played chess and he was a very smart man, he had no money, none. And there was a point when my mother and him, I believe, were going through the divorce, and she made the point of, look, if something happens to the kids, we can't afford to take them to the hospital. And they made the decision together saying, well, look, the kids are British citizens, you're a British citizen, go over and live in England. We'll see if we can fix the marriage at some point in the future. It never happened. But it was a financial issue that made us move. And probably one of the best things that ever happened.
Did you think about staying there when you became an adult?
Did I think about going back to the United States?
No, back to the UK.
Prepare for
Like,
battle.
Back to the UK? No. Well, I've always felt British. I moved to England when I was 8. So I was very young, it's why my British accent is stronger than Andrew's, because he was a year and a half older than me by the time we moved there. But I really liked England, and I'm super proud of England and proud to be British, which upsets me
30
because obviously
seconds
England's
to battle.
falling apart. But I consider myself English, so I like that country. I can't move back now. When the government is saying you can't talk about this guy's brother in school, I'm going to move back there. I'm public enemy number 1, and bad things will happen, worse than they happen here, I suspect. So sadly, I can't go back to England, but I do love it. I said if I could swear loyalty to any British leader ever, it would have been the Queen of England. King Charles, not so much. But like everyone's like, oh, who do you vote for? You know, Labour or Conservative, Liberal, Democrat? I was like, no, Queen Elizabeth II. That's the politician I'm about. I don't want to hear about them because they're not interested, and they just want to see the country fall apart.
do you think the monarchy will continue?
If Charles dies soon, and I hope he doesn't, I believe that people will rally behind William in a way they have not rallied behind Charles. I believe that William is a much more popular figure. I believe that William has less skeletons in his closet, let's say. I believe that he could revive the English love for the monarchy, which died with Queen Elizabeth II. Depends how long Charles is the placeholder. But unfortunately, everything great about England is being destroyed. And the royal family is one of those institutions that I believe to be a great institution, one of the great things about England. So there are people actively seeking to destroy it. If I had my way, the monarchy wouldn't go anywhere. But
why are people seeking to destroy it, do you think? And more broadly, the West?
well, they don't want anybody to have anything to be proud of. It's the reason buildings are ugly. It's the reason they'll take down your national flags. It's the reason they allow mass amounts of unchecked immigration of people from different cultures, some of them good, some of them bad, to flood into your borders. They just don't want anybody to have anything to rally behind, whether it be a flag or a monarch, so then they can just divide people and tell people how to think, what to do, how to behave. You know? If I say, no, Queen Elizabeth has these certain values, and I'm British, so I'm going to have the same values as her. I'll give you an example. I like to speak the Queen's English. Now it's the King's English, but that's what it's called. English people can't even speak their own language anymore. You ever been to London? Heard their accents?
Yes.
I know Americans who are illiterate, but it is the English language, so I'll believe the English. There are British people who speak one language and can't even speak it right. No. Speaking the Queen's English was the standard we used to set for people to communicate with one another. That's gone. So it's sad that these people want to destroy the foundations of almost every society. And what better way in England to destroy the foundation of British society and British patriotism than destroying the crown?
Where did your views come from? I mean, both you and your brother seem to have a very coherent worldview.
Yeah.
That even if I didn't agree with it, of course I do, but if I didn't, I would still think, boy, these guys have thought it through. You left school at 16.
16.
You both became professional fighters.
Yes.
So how did this develop?
We had very little else to do than to. This is no joke. Like, people joke, they say, how do you feel being under home arrest? I joke and I say, I was under home arrest for 7 years. I was broke, my car had no gas, and I had nowhere to go. I was in a smaller apartment than this. I was in self-imposed home arrest from having no money. Me and Andrew have never had much to do, but we've always loved discussing ideas. And we're always with the other person, who at least is matched intellectually. And we've agreed on things and disagreed on things. Even now, like I said, he's a Muslim, I'm a Christian. I came out of jail, I've read 4 books on Islam since getting out of jail. Why? Not necessarily to counter-argue with him, but just to learn more about issues that are important to him. We read books on history, and I think if you have a very good understanding of history, you can understand the problems in the modern world. Yes. And that's a massive problem. I get mad at Romanians for it. Romanians don't know their own history. And I'll literally get mad at Romanians for not knowing their history.
Like medieval history or like Ceausescu history, recent history?
Even if you take World War II history,
yeah.
For example, every single Romanian city and Romanian village has a war memorial in the middle, listing all the names of the people who died. I said to Romanians, where did these men fight? Where did they die? Nobody knows that when Paulus's army approached Stalingrad.
I was about to say they died in Stalingrad.
Exactly. His entire rear guard was Romanians and Italians.
That's exactly right.
And Zhukov's counterattack, out of 259,000 Romanian soldiers, 139,000 died in that counterattack.
And then the rest got dragged into Stalin's Russia.
Absolutely.
And never came back.
And when Romanians don't know that, I get offended. I'm like, how can you not know that? How can you be proud of being a Romanian and drive past that monument every single day and not know where those men fought and died? So even out of respect for the country I live in, I'll learn this history. So I just, when you know history, you can look at the modern world and see what's wrong with it, what's right with it, what's going wrong, what could go wrong. And I feel like an understanding of history is the basis of finding knowledge, if you can even call it knowledge. But I don't consider myself a professional besides maybe kickboxing. That's it.
Do you miss it?
No, I'm lucky. I had a car crash at 28, ruined my shoulder, so my retirement was final. I had to retire. I had one MMA fight after that, and I lost because my shoulder dislocated when I was wrestling. And I tapped out. Obviously, the haters love to watch that fight and be like, oh, look, he tapped out for no reason. I was trying to push the guy off. My shoulder slipped out of place. So I don't miss it, and I'm very lucky that I'm in the position where, like with prison, I see good in every situation. I can't go back. So it's fine. I did it. I'm very proud of myself. I'm the 2-time European champion. 28, car crash. I've washed my hands of it. I still stay in good physical condition. I still train very hard. I still take my health very seriously. But going back to fighting isn't an option I have. When you look at some fighters, we were talking about them earlier. I'm not going to name and shame anyone because I respect every boxer who's ever got in the ring. Some guys, they're old, they're still getting in the boxing ring, they're still fighting people they shouldn't. They don't know what else to do. I had to move on. So by definition, I can't, because going back is enough. So I got very lucky. Andrew misses it a lot more, because he could always get back into perfect shape and go fighting again. So he misses it a lot more, and it's haunted him up until about 2 or 3 years ago. He was like, oh, did I do the right thing retiring? Should I have gone back? 5th world title, 6th world title, because it's just who he is. He's a warrior in his soul, and he loves war. But war can be just, and war can be noble. It doesn't have to be, you know, what we typically think of as war. Andrew's at war with the world, and he always has been. Andrew 14, 15 years ago, I'd watch a internet debate. I can't remember the exact debate I was watching. I think it was one of the, back when Intelligence Squared used to host those debates. I used to watch those 14, 15 years ago, before everyone's attention span was ruined by TikTok. And I said to Andrew, you have to come and watch this debate. It was absolutely amazing. I think it was about reparations in the United States. It was on the issue of reparations. I said, there's a great debate, Andrew, you have to come watch it. And he looked at me and went, we're broke, Tristan. I said, what? He goes, you're sitting there watching debates. We have no money. How are we gonna pay the rent? We are broke. He was furious, and he was always at war, like singularly focused on becoming successful in every single metric, which was very cool because it inspired me. I was like, yeah, well, I'm watching debates for. I don't know how to pay the electricity bill to keep watching these next month. Let's get to work. So he's always inspired me a lot, but he's been at war with the world in a very healthy and positive way.
Have you guys always lived together?
Yeah, always. Always. From living in my mother's house to moving out together, and I don't know why I wouldn't live with him. People say like, oh, it's weird you share a house. I've got 9 bedrooms. You've seen this place. If I want private space, if I want to sit by myself or, you know, with my girlfriend or, you know, I've got plenty of room to be alone. But he's always...
Why do people say it's weird to live with your brother?
I have no idea. I feel like Western society, the ideas that are purported to young men to divide, you know, if you have 3 or 4 brothers in a family, oh, go to different universities, study different things, pay a bunch of different rents to a bunch of different people. The idea, which is more Middle Eastern, of pooling your resources and keeping the family together, is not something the West pushes anymore. You know, I've heard you ever heard the expression, never mix family with business? Oh, why? Why? Every penny that me and Andrew make goes to the whole thing. We've shared all of our resources forever, since we had no money, to now we have a lot of money. Why shouldn't you mix family with business? Who else are you going to trust?
I agree.
The man I grew up with and knew my entire life, or some guy who I met last week?
Why do they say that?
For the same reasons they do everything. That destroys the nuclear family, the modern society, the idea of men being close friends, you know, respectful to one another and working together as a team. They want you all divided. Because when you're fighting an individual war against your life, the struggle, your bank balance, maybe your wife, your kids who don't respect you, when you're fighting that individual war, you're never going to unite and fight any kind of war that you need to fight together. Even in Romania, look, 1989, there was a massive revolution.
Yeah.
Say what you want about communism and Ceausescu, and I hate communism, and I don't want communism to become anywhere, neither do the Romanians. But Romania is a traditional society, a Christian society. Nuclear family is very, very important to them. Family values are very important to them. How many drug addicts have you seen on the streets?
None.
0. 0. Why? Because if a Romanian becomes a drug addict, his parents, his grandparents, someone will take him in, get him off the drugs. You know, that's the backbone of society. We have 0 funding here. That's why I'd never sue this country. 0 for anti-drug programs, mental health programs. How many crazy people are harassing you when you walk around?
None.
There we go. The family's very, very important, and I love it. So yeah, and they throw revolutions when they don't like something. They overthrew the president 6 years ago. You know, they'll get together and say, no, we've had enough.
Well, they shot Ceausescu and his wife.
They shot him and his wife. Indeed they did. Executed. But I'm not a fan of communism, neither are the Romanians. But Ceausescu wasn't, if you know about his life, he wasn't necessarily an evil man, but he was a completely uneducated man. It's easy in 2023 to say communism doesn't work. I know it doesn't work. You know it doesn't work. It's 1945, Romania. Communism's a new idea. Everyone's broke. Maybe we should try this. Some of the people who got into it and bought into it didn't necessarily do it with the worst of intentions.
Right.
Anyone pushing communism today is either thinks they're working under good intentions because they don't understand history at all. Like I said, lack of understanding of history. Or they're evil. They're truly evil. Because we know it doesn't work and we know how it ends up.
Why do you think, I mean, and it seems to target the family first.
I mean, the separation of the nuclear family gives the state the ability to raise your kids. And my brother's probably touched on this. The moment there's no father at home, the moment the mother's busy working, not at home cooking meals and raising the kids and reading books to them like my mother was, then who's raising your kids? The school, the internet, the television, whatever ideas we put on those are the ideas the kids are involved with. We don't want dad out working and mom at home with the kids 24/7. No. The mother of my kids, call me sexist if you want, never has to work again. She can have passions. She can have interests. She wants to learn the violin, the piano, dance, ballet. She's a former gymnast, one of them. Go and do this. Good. You do what you enjoy. Don't worry about the money. I'll make the money. Pursue your passions because I want you at home with the kid. That's what I want. And people call me a misogynist and they call me sexist for it. Why? I've chosen her. She's obviously a good woman. I want her raising my daughter. I don't want her in a daycare with God knows who. Luckily in Romania, I'm relatively safe from that, but I mean, I've seen some questionable people working in your daycares in the United States. That makes me very worried.
Yeah, nobody cares anymore. What do the women in your lives think of your relationship with your brother?
They think it's beautiful. The only type of woman, they come around to it very quickly. I feel like even if they're like, oh, you're 35 almost, you're about 36, you get together, they'll find it weird until they see our relationship and see how we interact with each other and see how we live and see how we work together. They'll find it weird up until that point. I've only ever had Western women call it weird. I've only had, because Eastern Europeans have a different kind of mindset. They get why two men would work together and team up. In England, I've had English women say it's weird. We've had women try to get in between our relationship. I don't know why they even tried. But
It hasn't worked.
But I also feel like, throwing me in jail, the authorities here, or whoever was attacking me, certainly underestimated me. They thought Andrew was gonna, I don't know, say something he shouldn't to get me out of jail. They thought I might roll on him to get myself out of jail. I don't know why they thought throwing us all in jail and saying we were a gang was a good idea. But you try to find weak links in a group. And also the fact that my personal assistant, God bless her, didn't lie about us to get herself out of jail. Mine and my brother's relationship, and I want to make this very clear, inspires the other people around us to loyalty. I have such high standards of what loyalty means because I have Andrew, that I expect absolutely nothing less from my friends. I mean, you've seen this house. There are men sitting around this house. They've flown across the world, 24 hours, some of them, to come sit on house arrest, as opposed to enjoying their lives and running their businesses or seeing their kids. They're here with me. The loyalty we have for each other translates into every other aspect of our lives. I feel like we get more loyalty from women, we get more loyalty from friends. We have a standard to measure loyalty against, and it's a standard that's 100%. So that's a beautiful thing about our lives. So it works. It helps.
How much of the media coverage of yourself and your brother do you read?
Quite a lot. But I know what the articles are going to say based on who says them. You know, and I've heard fans of mine raise some quite legitimate questions about the webcam studio I used to own. Was that human trafficking? We can cover this in a minute. But I tried to read as much of it as I can, especially when I got out of jail, because I wanted to see where the land lays. But it's the comments section that overwhelmingly tell me the consensus of people. The most violent hit pieces can be made against me. The worst interviews, trashing my name, saying I'm a danger to society. I shouldn't be around anyone. I should be locked up forever. It's the comment section on those that tells me the true measure of who supports me and who doesn't. Because the people who hate me are just loud. They're very loud, but I don't think they're very big in number. Because the comment section trashes them, even on their own matrix media, mainstream media articles. BBC will post an article. BBC people who subscribe to that page and like the BBC website, the comment section trash them. So that's what makes me happy. It's the comment section. So keep up the comments, guys.
Why is BBC so single-minded in its attacks on them?
Well, don't look at people on the news. You can't look at BBC as a media organisation. What funds the BBC? The TV license, the UK taxpayer. It is the government's propaganda branch. When there are big riots in London, the BBC doesn't cover them until 2 days later. They don't want to inspire people to go down to London and protest. It's not a news organisation any more than it is a government-funded agency for telling the British people what to believe and what to think. So the fact that the British politicians don't like it means the BBC, by nature, by instruction, have to hate him. A journalist who likes Andrew would not be allowed to come here if he worked for the BBC and ask fair questions. Questions like, you haven't been convicted of anything, why did you spend so much time in jail? That would be a very normal question to ask him. They're not allowed to. They are the government's propaganda arm in the way that the North Korean television station is the arm of the North Korean propaganda arm. It's funded by the government, it's run by the government, it purports the government's ideas, no matter what they are, and Andrew Tate is a danger to society for some reason. So that's why the BBC hates him, because the government hates him. What else is the BBC? Do independent journalists hate Andrew? Not, almost none that I've met. So.
When you say that even some of your supporters have questions about your webcam business, what is that? What does that mean?
So I'm glad you asked that, because I'd actually like to clear this up. Andrew is a Muslim and I'm a Christian. In a previous life, me and my brother used to run a streaming company, essentially. We're pretty girls, stream online, lots of dudes online. You know, there was some nudity involved, and it was a studio, essentially. The girls worked for my company. They had contracts to work for my company. They got paid very, very well. People are like, they were involved in that business, they recruited women. Is that what they're investigating? Human trafficking allegations? No. No. The human trafficking charges filed against me, because they called the women who used to work for me. Yeah, great boss, I made some money, my life has moved on, and they hung up the phone on the police. The charges are that in 2021, I recruited friends of mine by brainwashing them to steal their TikTok money. If the police could have found a link between anything illegal and any business I've run, from my webcam studio to any company I've ever run, they would have put it in the case file. It simply does not exist.
So that's not connected at all
Not
to the charges?
Not at all. The webcam studio was shut 4.5, 5 years before I allegedly started this kidnapping gang. So they're not connected.
So you do not run a web business now?
No, absolutely not. And also, none of the alleged victims are girls who've ever worked at my streaming company in the past. There's zero connection at all. But I get why well-intentioned fans of mine will be like, oh, well, he was talking about this business he used to run. Was he trafficking those people? That's a very fair question. It's a very fair question. But there is no connection at all. And the case file will eventually come out. The charges and what I'm accused of will come out. Is there any money that's been made in the case file? $1 from illicit activities, even from TikTok that reached my bank account. Is that in the case file?
So you guys don't make money from TikTok, even though?
No, I mean, we have people who put ourselves on TikTok to kind of spread our own message. Do we directly or indirectly make money from promoting ourselves on TikTok? Maybe. Should I traffic myself? Is Andrew trafficking himself? No, but we make no money from TikTok, and we make no money from anyone streaming on TikTok. And I certainly wouldn't need, I don't know how much TikTok influencers make, but I certainly wouldn't need to brainwash people to steal amounts of money like that. You know, do they make $100 million? Well, let's get into the brainwashing business, me and you. Let's go. There's money to be made. But that's simply not the case. So to believe that these charges are true, you have to understand that I'm already a father. I'm already a retired sportsman. I'm already a public figure. I'm very well known. 1 million plus followers on Instagram. The whole world knows who I am. Now's the time to risk it all and start brainwashing people for money from TikTok. That's what you have to believe my thought process was. And I may seem unorthodox or unconventional to people who may speak to me, but I don't think I come across as insane. And you'd have to be insane to do that. It doesn't even make any sense.
You're accused of kidnapping as well?
Well, when they first put me in jail, the word kidnapping was used on the news all the time.
Yeah.
The official charges now say coercion, so being nice to people. That's what's in the charges. I'm nice to people, and that's how I've kidnapped them, one way or another.
But you're not accused, and I'm speaking specifically of the accusations, you're not accused of locking someone in your basement. or
So
physically holding someone captive.
this house is allegedly the crime headquarters of my criminal organization. If this TV were on, and it's looking in this room, look at my TV, I have CCTV cameras all over the house. It was the first thing the police took. And when they took it, I said, thank God. Guys, watch this, and then they go, it's done. You have a year of footage, every angle of my house besides the bedrooms, the entrances, the exits, the gates in and out, everything that happens by the pool, in this living room. You find any illegal activity there, good, yeah, lock me up. But the fact that nothing that they could put in the case file contains 0 of my CCTV images. 0, not one. So they took that, watched the whole year of my life and said, this isn't relevant. I threw it out. But the fact that that's absent of any crime, if I had a friend who sniffed cocaine on this table, that would be in the case file. If a girl tried to leave once during a heated argument, I'd closed the door and done this on camera, that would be in the case file.
And you're sure there's no footage from within inside your house?
The police have it all. I have it all backed up. I might just release it to the whole world, but then people will know too much of my business. But I could release the footage. It'll be the world's most boring TV show. It's people sitting around here, talking, smoking cigars, having fun, watching TV, watching movies. They saw all of this. That CCTV evidence, whether they send me to jail or not, exonerates me. Imagine you're a criminal running a drug smuggling, for example. The last thing you do, one, is put some cameras that record every move you make, everywhere, to record your criminal activity. But two, if you were guilty of drug smuggling, or whatever they accuse you of, or innocent of drug smuggling, that camera footage would either condemn you or exonerate you. And that's not true. A whole year of CCTV from every single angle. I'll show you the cameras after. You'll laugh. You'll laugh. It's funny.
So you said you would never sue the government of Romania.
Never, ever.
But
They need the money more than me.
But it's news organizations that have called you a human trafficker,
Yep.
implied that you're a pimp or
Yep.
a white slaver or whatever. You know,
Yeah.
you had sold human beings.
Yeah, there are a lot of people who have to be dealt with in a legal way. I don't want anyone to misinterpret that as a threat. But essentially the answer is this. I was asked by a friend, do you think you'll get justice? And I said, what, you think if they drop this now and just say you're free to go, that's justice? After what my family have suffered, after my daughter suffered, after me being locked up in a prison, after me being deprived liberty in my house, the damage it's done to my business, my international reputation, my mother, these 2 women. You think if they drop it now, that's justice? No. God is the ultimate arbiter of justice, and he will make sure that I do get justice. And I will have justice. But this case file disappearing is just the beginning. How is that just? 1 year and a half I've been labeled a human trafficker. They've been calling me a human trafficker for a year and a half. When you have a daughter who's 2.5, and she's banging on the door, screaming to go outside and play with the other kids, but you know you can't let her go outside because if she does, the other kids take their parents. The other parents take their kids. She has no friend. I bought her a dog. She's crying her eyes out. She's to play with the kids. What about her? Justice and justice file. No, people will have to pay. Legally. Don't cut this up and say I'm making threats to anyone. People will have to pay. And they will have to suffer the consequences of the legal system. And I also believe that you can't do such an evil thing to people without suffering some type of retribution from the Almighty. So, good luck to them, and I hope they can sleep at night, because I wouldn't.
So Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, some talk that they may square off in the ring, a ring you're familiar with. Yeah. Will it happen? If it does, who wins?
Here's what would happen. Here's what could happen. Elon would have to take his foot off the gas pedal when it comes to work. I know he's a workaholic. He's insane, truly inspiring, that man. And I don't think he does anything by halves. If he tried to run all those various companies, do an hour or two of training daily, seriously, Zuckerberg has a head start in terms of technical skill. Elon is bigger, he's stronger, physically more imposing. If he took 6 months to train 5 hours a day, Elon beat Zuckerberg.
Is that what it takes?
That's what it would take for a man with no combat experience to get to a level to beat Zuckerberg. Yeah, Zuckerberg's been doing jiu-jitsu now for a couple of years, I think. But
5 hours a day for 6 months.
That's what I would prescribe to guarantee his victory. And you have to understand, for me, Meta banned me. So I still had Instagram and Facebook until I was in jail. In jail without charges. My criminal record is completely clean. If anyone here has anything on their record, I'm cleaner than you. He deleted my Instagram when I was in prison. I posted photos of me in suits, photos of me with cars, with inspirational quotes. That was my Instagram. I was deleted while I was in prison. I came out, nobody can get my Instagram back ever. It's gone. So obviously I want Elon, because Elon has my back. I mean, whether he's endorsed me or not, I don't talk to him. I've never met the guy, but I have a Twitter account. So for me, it's good versus evil.
Wait, on what grounds did Meta erase your account?
No grounds. No one could find out. No one could find out. Representatives who work within Instagram say this is not a ban that's reversible. This is not a ban anybody can do anything about. This is an Alex Jones level. This guy's not allowed on the platform. I don't even know what I've said. Like, I literally don't know what I could have possibly said. But, I mean, in their defense, if I ran Instagram, I wouldn't want human traffickers on Instagram. But wouldn't an interesting question be, is this guy actually a human trafficker? Before banning me. I mean, wouldn't that have been the natural line of inquiry?
How many American citizens have died from fentanyl they purchased over Instagram?
I know.
To this day, that is happening.
I know. Drug dealers all over Instagram. People are peddling all sorts of hate, all sorts of degeneracy over Instagram. I literally posted car pictures, usually with a line from a book that I like. Just a cool quote. Me in a suit, me in a car, me with my dog. That was my Instagram. That was it. That was all I ever did. I didn't do anything weird on Instagram. Yeah, I don't know why they did. So I would be teaming on. I'd be cheering.
But you think it would take a good 6 months to get up to that level?
To 6 months, Elon could guaranteed win. Anything can happen in the fight game. I've lost fights I shouldn't have won. I've lost fights I should have won. Anything can happen in the fight game. But I think that Elon is bigger, is stronger. Weight classes exist for a reason. I mean, the size is real. And I think Elon could beat him, guaranteed, if he trained for 6 months. And I see the best fighters in the world offering to train Elon. My brother offered on Twitter. Jake Shields, a few other people have said, look, Elon, I will train you. If he took that seriously and took the help he needed, I think he's going to train a couple of problems.
You wouldn't want to lose to Mark Zuckerberg.
No, you wouldn't. But I've lost to Mark Zuckerberg. Look, I have no Instagram. I don't use WhatsApp. I'm banned from all of it. So has Mark Zuckerberg beaten me? Yeah. So I'd be cheering Elon on. But Mark Zuckerberg, if you're listening, unban me, bro. Like, why? Why am I banned? At least get somebody from Instagram to explain to me what I was banned for. I'd like that. I really would. I'd like some closure. I don't need Instagram back, but I'd like to get an explanation, because no one who works there can seem to find one. And obviously, you know lots of important people who know lots of very high up people at Meta. No one can even get an explanation as to why I was banned.
What do you think the answer is?
The answer is, I'm Andrew's brother. I have similar views as him. When Andrew got banned, my following went up because everyone was following me just to see roughly what I'm up to in life, my stories, where I'm chilling, what I do. And I'm Andrew Tate's brother. That's
kind of a North Korean principle. You punish the family.
3 generations, yeah, absolutely. So I guess my kids won't be allowed on Instagram either. But I can't complain too much. That's fine by me. I won't let my kids have Instagram. It's fine. You don't have to ban them, Mark. It's cool.
Do you think, since you spend a lot of your life thinking about communications, the media, social media, where are we in 5 years? Is speech restored to the average person, or is there less speech?
I would say, without trying to kiss your ass, because I'm not an ass myself, that's down to people like you, fighting the good fight. Depends on the American political climate, which obviously you have a lot of sway over, and America is the king of the world, whether anyone likes it or not. I believe it's the negative ideas from England and America that have certainly made this happen to me. Yeah. Also, my case is important for countries in the States. Obviously, Romania is a big ally of the United States. If Romania are happy to, if important people in Romania, who I know speak highly of them, stand up and say, we're not going to publicly crucify this guy because America doesn't like him, or because England doesn't like him. I believe this is a very good moment for Eastern European countries as well, NATO allies, to say, look, you don't have to do everything you say. You don't have to follow this insane agenda of accusing people you don't like with imaginary crimes and throwing them in jail. This can be a victory for Romania. The work you're doing can be a victory for the United States. England's lost. So forget England. There's no free speech. That's over. Yeah, so it all depends on what shifts happen, who wins the next elections, how effective cancellations are. You have people like Rumble, Elon fighting against this silencing of every idea that's counterintuitive to the agenda of the state, which is my brother calls them. So I don't know, but it's a very interesting time to be alive. I would like, the optimist in me would like to think there's finally enough pushback. So let's take Alex Jones. You don't have to agree with everything Alex Jones says. I like Alex Jones, but I don't agree with everything Alex Jones says, and you don't have to. But Bill Maher, famously, and credit to him, said when Alex Jones got banned, he said, we shouldn't be banning him. He said, I hate Alex Jones, but Alex Jones should be allowed to talk. Everyone should be allowed to talk to their counselor. I feel like when they got Alex Jones, there was no safety. He is a warrior, and he continued fighting, and now he's back in Malaysia. Good for him. But he was renegating to his own site, to his own servers, streaming every day to small audiences after they asked him off YouTube. Cancellation.
No one defended.
Nobody.
I was on vacation that day. I was fishing out of the country. And the company that I worked for, which is supposedly in favor of free speech, said not one word.
And it's like, first they came for Alex Jones.
That's totally right.
Alex Jones, yeah. It's the old adage. So now there is I don't even want to call it a counterculture, but if you cancel, look, they canceled Anthony. How successful is that? He's bigger than ever. His voice is louder than ever. Now, thanks to people like Alex Jones, who took the initial brunt of the cancellation record, now there are lots of different platforms, lots of different apps, lots of different applications. But anyone's taking over Twitter, the mainstream app, which censored people very heavily. The pushback has started. So the optimist in me would like to look at the trend line and say things are getting better as compared to when they canceled Alex 6-7 years ago.
It does feel that way.
Yeah, it does feel that way. So I'm going to be hopeful for the future. But also, I don't know what these people are capable of. I don't know what they're capable of. Look what's happened in my life. This is unthinkable. 2 years ago, if you were to say, hey, Tristan, you'd be in jail for human trafficking, I'd be like, what? Human trafficking? Prison?
How long have you been locked up in prison and in your home?
I have not been free since December 29th of 2022. I have not had a single day of freedom. I've either been locked in jail or locked up here. I've only ever left this house or left jail to attend court. That's it. And that's a very long time. Think of everything you've done since just before New Year's. Think of all the places you've been, all the people you've spoken to.
Since last year?
Yeah. I've been locked in a jail cell with criminals or locked in my house.
So when you finally do regain your freedom, what are you going to do?
You know, I'm just going to continue to do what I was doing before.
No, but I don't. What's the physical, like, if I said you can leave your house right now, where's the first place you'd go?
You know, I think work comes first. I have documents and papers I need to sign in the Middle East for various reasons. I'm not going to broadcast them here. It's another avenue of attack. I have paperwork I need filling out. I just need to be able to live my life. I mean, for a man like me, and I've explained this in court to the Romanian judges, 2 of them which let me go, wonderful women. They let me out of prison, they put me on house arrest. I said, this isn't just some preventative detention measure, because I'm not some drug dealer who's now not dealing drugs because I'm now in jail. I'm an international businessman. You want to know how much money I make and why? Let me come here tomorrow with paperwork and show you. I'll call my accountant. This is why I'm rich. There's no human trafficking. But when you take a man who is an international businessman, who has to travel, who has to meet people, who has to talk to earn his living, and you lock him in the way that I've been locked up, I don't even want to guess how much money this has lost me. I don't even want to get upwards of $50 million, for sure. Cost me and lost me. But I need to just get my life back in order and also enjoy it. I will appreciate things much more after being in jail. So I'm going to continue living the same life as before. Where would I go? I don't know. The Middle East? Maybe England. I need to visit my tailor. I've got a bunch of suits being made, but now I'm scared of England because I know England's my enemy. So what, am I going to go there and get arrested for, I don't know, hate speech? I don't know what they're going to arrest me for. But when people say, oh, they can't just arrest you and throw you in jail for no reason, yes, they can. And I know they can. Let's make up rules. And we'll get the BBC to talk about it.
So you're a Christian, you're an American, you're a British passport holder also, but you spend a lot of time in the Middle East. It does seem like there's a movement, the center of gravity is moving toward the Gulf.
Well, they understand on a base level the issues that truly affect society's downfall. Go and try and buy drugs in the Middle East. I dare you. I dare anybody. They know that when you let morality slip, society falls apart. I can drive my $5 million car around the Middle East with a $2 million watch on. And I can go to various cafes, bars, have a few drinks, leave the car there, walk home, leave the car unlocked. No one's stealing. Because they deal with crime and immorality in a very serious way. So I think a lot of people...
Because they're serious things.
Absolutely, they are serious things. And a lot of people with money, where New York back in the 1970s, 1980s, maybe was, and California, probably the best places in the world to live, quite literally. Now you've got a billionaire living in New York or a multimillionaire living in New York. He's older, he's retired, but what, he can't walk the streets at all? He has to stay in his apartment. He needs bodyguards to go to the store, the supermarket. He's like, you know, why not Dubai? What does Dubai have? What does New York have that Dubai doesn't? Dubai has everything. It's a wonderful place. The United Arab Emirates is a wonderful place. And Saudi Arabia has opened up recently. And give it 5, 6, 7 years, they've got the money. Saudi Arabia is going to have nice, clean, beautiful, pretty, safe cities that every millionaire or billionaire in the world can enjoy. And they can go there and enjoy the amenities and live their life without the threat of some psychopath on the subway trying to attack you. And then if you defend yourself, what happens to you? Maybe 20 years, we're about to find out. In 2 cases. It's sickening. So I think that and I'll give the credit to religion. I'll give the credit to the Islamic faith. They don't want that bullshit in their country. They don't want their kids being taught immorality in the schools. So if you want to have kids and you're a very busy man, maybe your wife's very busy too, and you want a comfortable environment where you know that your kids can go to school and learn things like math and history and geography. I know, crazy, right? Without drag queens reading stories to them, you can go to the Middle East and be assured of what's happening to your children, to your family, in your home and your streets. I get the backward push. I get it. And there are different places in the world, like America was, hopefully will be again, but certainly was in the 70s and 80s, when people from even this country right here, which was a shithole back then, wanted to go to America, see the Statue of Liberty, come across on a boat, start a new life for themselves, live the American dream. I feel like the dream of the West is dying. And people are just like, well, where can I live the dream? What's the dream? Nice, happy life, beautiful wife, healthy kids, good health care, safe, schools are fine, mass crime doesn't exist, drug use isn't prevalent. It's crazy that that's now the dream. Isn't it sad what's happening? And yeah, to use a very famous slogan, I really hope that somebody can make America great again. It's a very good slogan, but even I haven't liked the United States in a long time. I go to the United States, I feel unsafe. I feel unsafe walking around the streets. I see the pandemic of homelessness and drug use, and I'm like, how is this the capital? How is this the capital of the free world? I look at the leadership. It just makes me sick on every level. So yeah, the Middle East is the place to be for now. Maybe one day, in 20 years' time, America will be the place to be again. And as an American citizen, I'm hopeful for the United States. I am hopeful for it. But it's people like you who are fighting the good fight, so I appreciate you a lot. And there are very few men who I'll ever meet who I'll say I admire you or I'm a fan of yours. I will say that to your face right now on camera.
Well, I appreciate it.
I admire you.
Thank you for that. Amazing. Thanks.
So you said president, then you brought in Putin.
Yeah.
So then that discourages for somebody to think they can make a real change. Okay. So 2 questions. One, if you are the president today, I'm sure you've thought about it.
Yeah.
What policies would you attack? Right now in America, I watched RFK. I don't know if you listened to the recording yesterday.
I've heard. Yeah.
What he said about the angle he would take with pharma, he says, all these things we're talking about guns. He says, how is it that we have the same amount of guns as Switzerland does per capita, but Switzerland hasn't had a school shooting in 21 years. Yeah. We had it 21 hours ago, and we just had one last night, by the way, big one. I don't know, in Virginia, I want to say, right? Yeah, 7 people shot just yesterday, right?
Every day.
Every day. You're talking about fentanyl. You're talking about the drugs. You're talking about LGBTQ. You're talking about military-industrial complex, economy, taxes. What would be top 3 issues you would attack if you were president today?
And that's so interesting because before I answer that question, that ties back into what we were saying earlier about men's mental health. They pretend they give a shit about men's mental health. But if you come along and actually advocate and tell men how to be happier. I've been a sad man and a happy man. I am a man. I know exactly how it feels on all ranges of emotion. And I'll be honest with you right now, when a man is sad, yeah, there is an inclination towards aggression. That's how we're born, that's how we're evolved. We're evolved with that inclination towards aggression. We need that to protect and provide. That's who we are. We need that bravery. But having a bunch of depressed, sad men who have no emotional control is dangerous for society. I say this all the time. They try and pretend that I'm somehow dangerous for society by telling men to stand up for themselves and be masculine. Absolutely not, really not. When you tell a man to have no emotional control and be more feminine, that's a school shooter. A school shooter is not a man with masculine accountability. He's a man who's told, act how you feel all the time. Then he gets picked on for long enough. Throw on some drugs on top his psychiatrist gave him, throw in a lack of a girlfriend, and he's had enough. That's where school shooting comes from. School shooting does not come from men being masculine. It comes from the absolute opposite of these things, and they know this. They know this very, very well. To fix society, we have to fix it at the most base level, the root level. I think America and most countries need more transparency and understanding of how things work. But when they're attacking the family unit, they're attacking all of these issues. Every issue you've just labeled all starts back down to the beginning. I really think the reason I would like to argue, and I don't know any of the statistics on this, in the 1950s, I'm sure there was prevalence of guns all around America, but there just wasn't the school shooting. Why? What was different? What was different in the years before that there is now? I think it's just because children obeyed their parents, and their parents were a family, and there was a degree of responsibility that was instilled inside of people, and there's a degree of accountability, and also there was a degree of honor and pride.
Great question.
There's a degree of honor and pride. I'll tell you something now. I bet in the 60s, 70s, whatever, in any country in the world, people didn't want to do dumb shit because the family would be known as criminals. The last name would be tarnished. Their son did this. You hear what their son did? There was a vested interest in all of it. Now you have a school shooter who's going to go out there, be a piece of shit and kill people, and then their parents are on the TV, well, yeah, he was failed by the system. They don't even feel any shame. It's unbelievable. If one of my children or someone close to me did something that heinous, I would be disgusted. I would apologize just for the sake, just for the name alone. There's no honor left. There's no pride left in the name. And this is what happens when you remove honor and pride from people. If you have no honor and no pride, nothing really matters. What matters anyway? It doesn't matter if you're out of shape. It doesn't matter if your kid's a piece of shit and a criminal. Nothing matters without honor and pride. And this is done on absolutely every level. I said this to Tristan the other day. I was actually saying we were driving, well, the other day, long time ago. I haven't left the house in a while. We were driving and I said, even on the most base level, I said, every building is ugly. Have you noticed that every new building is ugly? It's ugly. Just goes, yeah, it's all the same glass, big, square, ugly building. In the 1400s, we built these ornate, gorgeous buildings. And now everything's ugly. Why is that? Well, I'll tell you why it is. It's because they don't want you to have any intrinsic attachment to a specific place. If all the buildings are beautiful in a specific town, you have intrinsic attachment to that town. You care about that town. You want good things for that town. You'll protect that town. You'll defend that town. What is that? That's a barrier. That's a parameter. If everything looks the same all the time, you'll just move. Who cares? Oh, they've messed up San Fran. Who cares? I'll move somewhere else. I'll move somewhere else. It's all the same. Globalism doesn't matter. It's all the same. Buildings in Berlin and New York, they all look the same. Where's all the beauty going? When there's beauty, you have an attachment to that beauty. They want to remove all your attachments from everything. Even now, when they try and psyop you into, let's say, the way that models all look different than they used to before, right? Models all look different.
Victoria's Secret.
Yeah, and I was arguing this point. Someone's saying, oh, but that's because you have Eurocentric beauty standards. I said, no. I'm going to correct you, because I know you think you sound smart using the word Eurocentric, and I'm going to correct you because you're a dumbass. Let me tell you what beauty standards are. Beauty standards, by definition, for something to be beautiful, has to at least be unique. If everything is beautiful, then it's not beautiful. If everything's beautiful, then it's standardized. For you to take a model who looks the way they look without any effort at all, and they look like most out of shape, uninteresting people on the street, you cannot call that beautiful because it's standardized, you can see it everywhere. Beauty means it must have been difficult to obtain. Whether it's a building, it's difficult to make because it's ornate, or a woman who's trained really hard to have a beautiful figure, that is difficult. Difficulty and beauty are linked. You can't have beauty without difficulty. You cannot show me another model and tell me that my Eurocentric beauty standards to say she isn't hot, because that's not why. She isn't hot because she's made no effort. She hasn't tried. That's why. And they're doing this with everything. Everything is ugly. Nothing has a standard. Nobody has to try for anything. No parameter. No baseline belief of what's true and what's false. Everything's subjective. Your truth. No, there's the truth. There's no such thing as your truth. And this is an attack on every single level. They're assaulting us from everywhere, even the buildings they build. are assaulting you, so you can't even just drive through a town and go, wow, look how much energy has been put into this place. I love this place. I will not allow them to do it to this place. Now it's just like, we can move there. Let's move there. It's all the same anyway. It's all a Starbucks on the corner and a 7-Eleven. Who cares? It's all the same. Why fight? Why fight for any of it? It's all done purposefully. I'm telling you, call me a conspiracy theorist, call me crazy. I don't understand why an architect would now decide, who hires an architect? I'm going to build a building. Let me hire an architect to come up with the same sketch of the same bullshit building, which is already existing everywhere. How much did I pay him? Yeah, what we're going to do is we build a skyscraper made of grass that looks like every other one. Is that it? We did all this 600 years ago. We built cathedrals, and now we build this crap? Why? Everything is on purpose. It's all a psyop. It's all a psyop. When they put these models on there, the psyop is you don't have to try. You don't have to try at anything. Don't try. It doesn't matter. Just don't try. Wait for the government. We'll give you some food stamps. You'll be okay. It's
participation trophy.
It's slavery. It's slavery. When you need to do every single thing they say to eat, that's their end goal. That's what they want. It's slavery. They don't want you trying anything. Even going to the gym today is an act of rebellion. Even being in good physical condition is an act of rebellion. If I put up a photo of me and I'm in good physical shape, there are people who write underneath it, oh, you're dumb, you train so good. They insult you for it. Like, you're a bad person because you have standards for yourself. That's the level of bug man they want to get you to. Of course, these people will give up meat and eat the bugs and live in the pod. Of course they will. They have no standards. They have no self-respect, no standards. Of course they can live in an ugly building, a big, ugly matrix pod. That's all they want.
Is it somebody has to sell you on that? Or is it going back to conditioning? Or what would it be? Is it someone selling you, or is it conditioning?
And it goes back to my original point about the family. I do believe that the reason we didn't have so many problems before is because I believe the families had standards. And some cultures still do. I have friends who are Chinese. My dad, I cannot not get an A. That's just their culture. When my dad was still alive and he was teaching chess, my dad would charge $400 or $500 an hour for chess lessons. And towards the end of his life, he goes, all of my students are Chinese or Indian. Nobody else wants to spend money, $500 an hour to teach a kid chess. Only the Chinese and Indians will spend that money to make sure their kid is that good. So that's it. They're the ones who invest the most in their children. They still care on that level. But most families don't wake up and go, I want my children to act a certain way for the legacy, for the family name as a whole. I'm instilling standards upon them because of the last name. My entire life I've had standards instilled upon me. My entire life. Your last name's Tate, you can't do that. Your last name's Tate, you're not allowed to do that. Your last name's Tate, hit him back. I've been like that my whole life. And now we've removed all standards from everybody. This is why you get school shooters. These school shooters should be too embarrassed to even embarrass their fathers. They should wake up and go, I would never do this to my family. And I'll also, this is definitely going to get me canceled, but I'm going to say it because it's true. I'll say it by extension for suicide. I don't care what you do to me. I'm Andrew Tate. I cannot kill myself. I can't. I'm not allowed. It's against the creed of my last name. I didn't have ancestors who suffered how they suffered, who went through what they went through, for me to be born, to kill myself. That's not the end of my story. I refuse. I absolutely refuse. No matter how bad it gets or what bad situation I'm in, I refuse to do it because I have too much respect for my last name. I won't do it. And I think that a lot of things, a lot of men's mental health, a lot of crises can actually just come back to the old adages of honor. And you can fix a lot of it. Your girl left you, you miss her. I get it. We've all been heartbroken. She's with a new guy. You're upset. She doesn't care. You care. I get all of it. But there has to be a point where you get to a level of pride and you just go, that's not who I am. I lost her. That's life. You just got to get on with it. And the best way is to have, where do you find the strength when you're in these difficult situations? I always find the strength from my last name. I'm Andrew Tate. I'm Andrew Tate, so I just have to do it. I'm in a Romanian jail cell. I wake up, there's cockroaches in my bed. They're all over my face. What am I going to cry? Well, am I bitch out? Am I going to go and sign a piece of paper and say I'm guilty? I'm going to sell my brother out? Is that what I'm going to do? Am I going to go fucking lie and sell the girls out like they want me to? Am I going to stand up and say I'm sorry for saying go to the gym like a pussy? No, I'm going to take the cockroaches off my mouth. I'm going to do some push-ups because I'm Andrew Tate. When shit really gets hard, honor and courage and bravery and your last name is all you've ever had. It's all you're going to have. And it used to be like that in the olden days. That's why no one did this dumb shit. They were just too embarrassed to even do it. And this is why you're saying, how do we fix the country? Absolutely all of it comes down to the fact that especially with men, none of them are bestowed with the things that the masculine essence needs to be a good man. You need pride, you need honor, you need a healthy level of ego, you need all of these things. We're taking it all from boys, and what are we giving them instead? Video games, porn, weed. And what do you expect of these people? What do you expect of these shit versions of men besides trash output? You're going to get garbage all across the spectrum. Either they're going to do nothing or they're going to do something bad. They're certainly not going to do anything good when they don't try for anything in their lives. How are they going to do something good? The scary thing about all of this is that there still are two teams in the world. And there is a side of the world where they don't accept this crap. How long is America going to compete globally when you have countries like China and Russia and these other countries where they don't do this? I don't know if you saw, they did that survey to kids of what they want to be when they grow up. Did you ever see that? Yeah, it was crazy. Every American kid wanted to be a YouTuber. Every Chinese kid wanted to be an engineer or an astronaut.
Yeah.
Who owns the future? Who owns the future? We're in so much trouble. We're in so much trouble as a society. And what are we arguing? It's insane.
And what do they show you on TikTok, though?
Absolutely, exactly.
But let's stay on this. You asked a very important question. Let's go back to it. We had the same amount of guns, 1950 per capita. Brandon, can you look at that per capita, how many guns we had in 1950 versus today? But it's relatively the same. Gun laws haven't changed dramatically from 1950 to today. What's changed from then to today? We took out God out of school. Prozac was invented in 1987.
Yep.
The law to legalize advertising drugs, big pharma, in America was 1985. It's only 2 countries in the world that can advertise, us and New Zealand.
Crazy.
So you got God, you got Prozac, you got big pharma advertising, you got the LGBTQ movement that's taking place. You got all of that taking place to where we are today. So when you're talking about guns, what has changed? It's not the guns that's changed. Society's changed. Standards have changed.
Completely.
So how do you fix that? So if that is the biggest problem you're selling, number one, here's a problem. Let me sell you why this is the problem. Okay, the people are like, you're right, I'm buying it. Give us a solution. What's the solution?
Yeah, I think the solution comes back down to family values, and that's a very difficult question to answer because it's across the entire spectrum, right? I do feel like it's almost a race to the bottom for men and women now in the modern society. I don't think women are being very good women. I don't think men are being very good men. I think both of that is accelerating against each other, and it's a race to the bottom.
How do you fix that?
It's difficult. It's hard, and I still think one of the easiest ways to do that is God. I think if you bring back some degree of morality and some degree of standard to both sexes, I think things will start to get better. I can tell you right now, they talk about why does men not want to get married anymore. Men don't want to get married anymore. They come up with all these elaborate reasons. The main reason men don't want to get married anymore is because their girlfriend was with me for free. So why are they going to marry her? That's the bottom line of it. Why would you? A white dress means virgin. Marry who? A girl from the club who your friends have been with? Do you want to marry her? Like when you remove all of the morality from life, you just end up in a scenario where the only possible logical move is to act without morals. Game theory, right? We sit there and we analyze things logically. If you're going to be, if all the women you meet are immoral, how are you going to act? You act morally, you get wrecked. So how do you act? Immorally. It's a race to the bottom. We have to fix society as a whole, and it comes down to even the most basic things like female promiscuity, the most basic things like men sticking up for their last name, the most basic things like men having to be too honorable and too proud to be out of shape or be poor or not take care of a woman. I'm not just talking about women, I'm talking about men. Any woman who's with me, her life is fixed. That is my job. I'm Andrew Tate. I would be embarrassed to have a girl say, I'm Andrew Tate's girlfriend and have to work a job, unless she wanted to. She can do anything she wants. She's my chick. You can have anything. You run the world now. You're with the top G. Anything you want is mine. I'll take care of you in every single way, but you must take care of me. I can take care of you financially and physically. You must protect me spiritually. You must do your job. It's a race to the bottom on both sides. And when you have two genders racing to the bottom and then a child is born, what do we expect from this child? Who's raising the child? The school, the TV, the internet? You trust these people? Look what they're injecting into them. So another thing that's very interesting, you talk about the 1950s, another thing that was different. In the 1950s, parents raised their kids. Who raises kids nowadays? School, internet, Twitch. How much time do you spend talking to your child compared to the programming they get from the Matrix? You're losing in terms of pure minutes. You're losing. You can't even control what your child sees in school anymore. You don't even know. And when you find out they do what they did in California, they're like, what? Most people don't even know this. You have children 15 years old, I've seen it on YouTube, arguing with their own parents, disagreeing with their own parents. The whole point of having children is to instill your values in them. I want my sons to be Emory Andrew Tate. They must think and act and be like me. And for someone, I've had people say to me, what if they're not? If they're not, they're not. That's fine. But the whole point of me having them was my lineage. That's the whole point of me suffering to raise them was my lineage. Why would I raise them to be anything other than what I believe I should be and they should be? That's the whole point of it, and I'm proud of that. I'm not going to sit and apologize for wanting my sons to be Tates. I'm not going to apologize for it. I don't care what the school wants them to believe. They believe what I want them to believe because they are mine. But all of that's gone. So then we also talk about what's different between the 1950s and today. These kids are being raised by people who aren't their parents, and whoever's raising them clearly ain't teaching them anything good. It's teaching them, if you feel, act how you feel. You can't tell men that. It's dangerous. You can't tell men to act how they feel. You can't tell men to not have emotional control. You can't tell men to cry anytime they want. Because men don't just cry sad, they cry angry. They cry very angry. You don't want that. You have to teach them stoicism. You have to teach them all of these things. And it's all gone.
So, okay, so let's stay on this. This is actually a very interesting topic we're in, from 1950s till today. So you're saying, if somebody is a Tate, if somebody is my wife, if somebody is my son, you're going to be doing this. I'm not going to let a teacher XYZ. Okay. Well, 85, 90% of America doesn't have the money to be able to put them in a private school.
Correct.
Where right now is June. If you go on YouTube or Twitter and look at Pride Month, everywhere kids are coming to school. Parents, teachers got these pride stuff going on all over the place. Parents are like, look, I'd love to put them in a private school, but even some private schools are doing it right now. In Florida, there is a private school. It's known one of the best private schools out there. You know which one I'm talking about? I won't mention it. Starts with the letter P. People should know what it is, but they already know what I'm talking about. We have a party at our house, okay? And baseball. My son, so he's got a baseball. All the players are their parents. I'm talking to the parents. So, hey, meet one of the girls. So, what school do you go to? Oh, well, I was going to such and such school, but I'm going to such and such school. Oh, really? Tell me why. The dad's like, yeah, it's just, reasons. He gets uncomfortable. Yeah. I said, no, really, tell me why. I'm curious. Well, I don't really want to get into that. I said, are you uncomfortable because it's political reasons? Well, yes. I said, well, let's just say you're safe to say it here. He says, am I fully safe? I said, what do I need to tell you for you to know you're fully safe? You're fully safe with us because you know my position. He says, fair. He says, we took him out because they started asking my daughter to do X, Y, Z with pride, to write on this, and she wrote a letter, a paper that was opposing the opinion, and she failed the class because her opinion didn't match whatever they were saying, and boom. Now, I said, what's going on with that private school? That school's 50 grand a year per kid, the one that's grooming.
50 grand a year per kid.
Yep. There's an exodus from this school to go to other schools. So one, some parents don't have the option, Andrew, to say, you and I are not worried about it. I'm not worried about it, but the people I'm leading, they're worried about it.
Absolutely.
How do you fix it if you're that person without the resources you got?
And that's another thing that's difficult, because I have two answers to this question. I have the arrogant answer, not the answer that I believe
I think
is
I know
helpful.
the arrogant one. We'll give both of them.
I'll give both.
Yeah.
The one I actually believe is helpful. This is where I think things that we discussed earlier with the clan comes into effect, right? Imagine you had 18 kids from 6 or 7 parents, groups of parents, and everyone's living together. The family unit, the energy and the ethos and the merits of that particular clan is going to be so much stronger and difficult for the Matrix to penetrate and break. Their best friends are the people they live with. The kids live with the other kids who believe the same as them. The parents all agree. When you're a clan, you're far more difficult to attack and assault. So I would say the first thing I would do if I was a parent of normal income, I would try and find other parents who agree with me and try and find other people who are ideologically sound. And I'd make sure that our children are friends and they spend the most time with each other. And I would try for us all to go on holidays together. And I would also put in conscious effort to try and deprogram. I don't think many parents say to their kids, what did you learn today? I'd be doing that not to check on the kid. I'd be doing that to check on the school.
But let me challenge you what's going on.
Sure.
So let's role play. Go ahead. Ask me the question.
What did you learn at school?
So today we learned that, Dylan Mulvaney had the courage to stand up for her beliefs, and she's a hero because she's out there and she's helping a lot of other people that are going through challenging times be able to stand up for themselves.
Okay.
What are you going to tell me?
I would say, why do you think they want you to believe that?
What do you mean that?
Why do you think they want you to believe that? They've told you something.
Yeah.
I don't believe that's true. What they've done is lie to you. Why do they want you to believe that?
Perfect. So say you now convince me I'm your son. Yeah. Great. I go to school tomorrow. Yeah. Ready?
Correct.
Now I'm in school.
Correct.
Hey, Miss Jones says, hey, Patrick, so tell me, so what did you think about this as this you have to write this paper? Well, let me tell you, last night I was having a conversation with my dad, and my dad told me, why do you want me to believe that?
Yep.
Then comes the phone call.
Yep.
And then now you're cornered as a parent, and now what do you say to the school? Say I'm the school, role play.
Correct. And I can't role play it by myself.
That's
It's
what I'm
difficult.
saying.
It's
That's the
difficult.
point.
And this is the exact point why you need a clan, you need a network, you need other parents. If I was a parent and my child was
Yeah.
going to public school, I'd be extremely interested in finding other parents whose kids were going to that public school. Yeah, you have the PTA meetings, etc., but there has to be a degree of strength in numbers. It's hard. You can say homeschooling, that's the cop-out. But the other answer, the more arrogant answer to this, is actually an answer I gave after the subway incident. You know in New York with the subway where they choked the guy and he died?
Yep.
I get asked all the time, Andrew, what would you have done in that scenario? It's a very difficult scenario. I mean, we can argue whether he choked him too long, whether he was trying to protect people, there's a bunch of arguments. But it's very unfortunate. This goes back to what I was saying earlier. You can no longer just be the average man, the average citizen. I insulate myself from so many problems with money. I know this is a terrible thing to say and people aren't gonna like hearing it, but it's true. I never have to worry about some garbage on the subway. I never have to worry about, do I stand up and defend this woman or allow her to get attacked because they're gonna put me in jail? I never have to worry about some fight on a plane because the ticket was $40. I never have to worry about my kid going to learn something they don't wanna learn. I don't have to worry about any of this because money protects me, right? So when I say this, like if I have a girl and she's saying, all you do is work, you need to be a dad too. I'm being a dad by being rich. That's me being a dad. That's how I protect you all. I'll work 18 hours a day every single day. That's me being a dad more than almost anything, because that's how I protect you and everybody else from all this insanity. It's the only way to do it. You need to be flexible.
We're fully on the same page. I'm on the same page as you. I also want to make the money, so I get to pick and choose. What I'm talking about is a message, because the reality is not everybody's going to go out there and make the
Correct.
10 a month or
Correct.
whatever you make. It's just not going to happen.
Correct.
The market's not set up that way.
Correct.
Quite frankly, not everybody brings that kind of value to the market.
Correct.
To garner that kind of pay. You know that, I know that.
Correct.
Okay, how can you and I help the audience that is sitting there, great citizens,
Yep.
net positive.
Yep.
They take their kids to church on Sundays.
Yep.
They work their butts out. They're doing their best to keep their marriage together as hard as it is.
Yep.
They're paying the bills for the kids. They're making 80 grand, 120 household income.
Yep.
They can't talk like you and I.
You're right.
What do they do?
You're right.
Let's give them the solution.
You're right. So if I was them, here's what I would do. I would make sure that my family had core parameters and core beliefs that we believed in, and I would fact check everything my child was told against those core parameters and core beliefs. So let's say one of our core parameters and core beliefs was hard work. We believed in hard work and dedication. When they came home and told me something about body shaming or the fact that models can change, I'd say, does that agree with the beliefs and the merits that this family has decided we're going to operate under? Yes or no? I would have a framework, I would have a gate which ideas have to penetrate through. Every idea has to be fact checked against a gate, a parameters of set values that was stuck to my last name. Honor, courage, discipline, hard work, whatever those parameters are. And I'd say to my child every day, what did you learn in school? I'd listen to it and I'd say, does that align with our value on this? And also, I'd make this very clear, because this was done to me as a child. I'd make it very clear to my children that they're exceptional. I think every single person is exceptional for different reasons. You talk about normal children, normal families, that doesn't mean they're not an exceptional individual. They can still be an exceptional person. Who knows what they might become.
Sure.
I'd say you're an exceptional. You don't believe what everyone else in that school is told to believe just because it is said. You're an exceptional person, and we have a framework we operate under, because your last name is X, and our framework is this. Does that align with hard work and dedication? No, it doesn't. Why are they trying to tell you that? Because they're trying to attack the framework which you need to be successful. My father said to me when I was young, my father had many, many quotes, and I use them all the time, but one of my favorites was, I allow manipulation to find out where my enemy wants me to go. And then I use my mind to break the trap and punish the perpetrators. That's the exact line I will tell my child. I'll say, they've attempted to manipulate you. We've allowed it. I allowed you to go to school and listen to this. Why were they trying to manipulate you? Where do they want you to go? They want to take you away from discipline. They want to take you away from hard work. Now we're going to use our minds to break the trap. We now know what they want. My father explained this saying to me, and he said why it was so important. And it's true. If you don't allow them to manipulate you at all, you don't know where they want you to end up. You might get tricked another way. You might take another road to the same destination. You allow the manipulation. Tell me what you want me to believe. Tell me what you want me to understand. Allow it to manipulate me all the way to the end. I see the end goal. Yep. This is what you want. No. And this is what I would teach my children. Explain. Your time in school is going to teach you some very important things that you need to know. And they're also attempting to psyop you and trick you and poison your mind. And we are going to discuss daily, built within our family framework, within the code of our last name, to see which are true and which are lies. It takes work, like everything else on earth. It takes work, and I know it's hard. Parents are out there, they're working, they haven't got time,
Yeah.
their kids are on the internet. It's difficult, but you have to put the work in because you are almost fighting an enemy for the minds of your children now.
You know what I think? You know what I think is that's great, very good feedback. But so I lived in Iran, and in Iran, you'd go out there and you'd say, so hey, listen, people asking about religion, don't talk about it.
Yep.
Are we Christians? I don't know.
Yep.
Talk to my mom and dad. You don't need to answer the question, right? Because there's that fear. So parents are teaching kids to not talk about their values and principles. The element that parents fear what the school's gonna say to them and not give the kids the best grades, because imagine you got a 10th grader or even a senior. If you really say what you believe in, that teacher gives you a C, you don't get the A to get the 4.3 GPA to get the scholarship because you can't afford it. You have to be like constantly like this. So parents are telling their kids, look, whatever I'm telling you, don't tell them. I think it's bigger than that. I think a part of it is this is the first time we had stats, and I don't know how long this was, where kids no longer, kids graduating high school are not valuing a four-year college as much as they did before, okay? That is a threat to the establishment because they can't be a control, right? Number two is there is an element, when I'm watching this video with these parents yesterday in Glendale, and this is where I grew up. This is my street. I grew up Broadway and Verdugo, right next to that post office. I'm 200 yards away from the high school is where I grew up, and I lived on Doran for a couple of years before I went to Wilson Junior High School. And I'm seeing these parents upset, like, how is this? This is common sense. Leave these kids alone.
Yeah.
I think there's got to be an element of those parents coming together and a form of a strike, I believe, to say, if you want the tax-funded money that's being given to your school district, hey, we're not coming. We're going to decide to do schooling together, and we're going to use this place or this facility and that facility, because they have to feel the pain. They cannot do that to the kids. So my only messaging with what you're saying right now, number one rule is what? Go start a part-time income, make an additional $3,000 a month so you can send them to the private school that they teach them right values. Okay, that's number one. Two, I can't afford to do that. Three, this is the other option that you got.
Yeah, and you're right. And Trump said it in his book, The Art of the Deal. He said, if you're not prepared to walk away, you can't negotiate. And that's the same with absolutely everything. If there's never a bottom line in which you say enough, then you can't negotiate. You have no negotiating position. We talk about this when it comes to children in schools, but this is also very applicable for relationships. I've had girls who say to me, you know what, I was watching TV and they were saying that, I don't know, X, Y, Z. And I would say, listen, I take care of you. I love you very much. I'm going to make sure you have everything you've ever wanted. I'm going to make sure you're physically safe. That's why you're not going to go walking home alone drunk. It's not because I'm a misogynist. It's not because I dislike you. It's not because I'm controlling. It's not because I'm manipulative. It's because it's for your safety, and your safety to a degree is my responsibility. But I saw on the news X, Y, Z. If you believe the news over me, then go find another man. You have to be prepared to walk away, right? This is the bottom line of it. This is what I personally believe. These are my values.
100% with you.
These are my values. And this is what I personally believe. If she says, well, no, I'm not listening to you, and I stay with her anyway, well, then it's over, isn't it? And then she's going to do whatever she wants.
But not everybody can do that because you earned the right. Again, the proposition you're offering is so high that they have to sit there and say, I can't lose this guy.
Completely. And this is where we go back to the original point about how difficult it is to be the average man now. It's becoming more and more difficult. We're in a position now where you have a racetrack and you have Ferraris and Nissans. And yeah, we can discuss how the Nissan might beat the Ferrari, but the truth is, it's hard. It's very, very hard. If I was a man and I was starting all over again, I would do the same things I did. I would wake up and say, okay, this game is extremely difficult. My best chance is to level up my character to a point where the game becomes easy. Because life does become easy at a certain point. Yes, now I'm in a very unique situation. But before this situation, I had only 3 problems in my life. My health, which I take care of, my woman, who I take care of, and money. That was it. If I made enough money, I had no other problems. If you're broke, you have lots of small problems. The car doesn't start, the school fees are coming up, whatever. We need new clothes for the kids. I had one problem to fix. If I fix my one issue, everything else is fixed. You get to a point in life where someone goes, oh, we've got an issue. How much? Just tell me the number. I don't even want to know the ins and outs. Just do the transfer, make it go away. So, yeah, as a man, I think you have that imperative to understand that the video game of life as a man is exceptionally difficult, and especially as you get older, as you progress with the levels, it gets harder. It's getting harder and harder. You need to level up your character. This is what amazes me when men go, I struggle with motivation. How can you struggle with motivation in the modern world? Are you asking to just lose? Are you asking to just be erased from humanity?
Yep.
Are you asking to be invisible? How can you be an 18-year-old man and say, I don't have the motivation to train as hard as possible and get as rich as possible? You are born to lose if you don't have motivation at 18. In the modern world, as competitive as it is, all those girls, those 18-year-old girls you go to school with, are talking to some 28-year-old man with a yacht somehow. And you're sitting there lonely and you don't have motivation? You must be out of your mind. The only way to win this game is to become as powerful as possible. It's difficult, and it's getting harder and harder, and this is why I teach the things I teach to men. You can't just be Joe Schmo and win anymore. Those days are over. You have to be something else.
The challenge those young men have, though, it's sometimes not even their fault. Why? Single mother, raised by a single mother. They've been indoctrinated, and they heard the future is female a million times. Next thing you know, they're 18. They kind of have this victim mentality. It's almost not even their fault some of these times.
Oh, completely.
We're all in our late 30s, early 40s. We've grown up. I played football in school. He's an athlete, bodybuilder. Obviously, you're a kickboxing champion. We've had coaches. We've had people kick our ass. We didn't grow up with participation trophies. We've had our asses kicked. We've gone through shit. Now we are the shit. A lot of these young guys playing video games, addicted to porn. They grow up with a phone in their hand, raised by women. They don't have